Welcome, and thank you for attending Legend Seed's second Tech Talks, a series of virtual webinars. I'm Chris Graff, YieldMaster Solutions Regional Account Manager, and we have a special guest on with us today from Exotic Technologies, John Squire. Today, we're going to highlight a new product, a wettable granular N-Physis product. And Legend Seeds and YieldMaster Solutions really pride themselves on four major core values. Integrity. We serve as a trusted advisor as we guide our dealers to success through honesty and integrity. Proven solutions. We deliver data-driven products, and we harness for greater ROI potential and overall plant health. Innovative. We're committed to innovation as we drive and push boundaries and pioneer new possibilities. ROI commitment. We're dedicated to maximizing ROI by delivering tailored solutions that generate measurable and sustainable value. One thing that's great about working with Legend and partnering with YieldMaster Solutions is we not only tailor or use data from our manufacturers like Exotic, but we also do our proof of concept trials where we test products and we check two things. Does it work and does it enhance the grower's ROI? With that being said, I am going to hand it over to John to get through to our next product, N-Physis.
All right, so appreciate the chance to visit with you here. I wanted just to share a couple of things about N-Physis. The new formulation is something that we're really excited about for at least two reasons, if not multiple, and I think we've got them captured really well in this presentation. One is that it's a smaller package size, so 7 ounces treats 40 acres. A box has 7 ounces in it, pretty light, very you have the ability to just put that in the seat next to you, move it around. It's not going to take up a lot of area, so storage area is big. The other part of that is you have a lot of flexibility in terms of resilience. The liquid product, if it froze, it was done as in the package. If this product freezes, you're all right. We're not saying you have to store it in a frozen condition, but actually that's actually a good place for it because it keeps it really asleep. I'll call it that, bacteria's asleep. So resilient in terms of freezing temperature, and you can take a higher temperature. We don't want you to keep it out in 90-degree weather all the time, but it can tolerate that. The packaging is sealed and it's in the sugar crystal type form. Goes into solution suspension really easy. So you hear me say this, solution and suspension. Oh, wait a minute. If it's a sugar type product, that part goes in solution really easy, dissolves, but the bacteria doesn't really dissolve. It's still there, so that's suspended in there. And then you can agitate that and apply it to the field. So the resilience with that is really good. And it goes well. So I'll ask you to, do I have power to advance to the next slide? Just go to the next slide if you would. There we go. So here's some of the things I've explained with that. One thing that the previous slide showed was there's going to be a little measuring scoop with that. Why is that? Because if there's a 40 acre packet there, that's where you go. If there's a 40-acre packet and maybe a grower says, I don't have 40 acres that I want to completely treat, this scoop will measure out for 5 acres if I understand correctly. So you can measure out and then close that envelope or that packet up and keep that dry as long as you can, because the moisture in the air will activate that. So ideally, back up. Ideally, you use the 40-acre packet all at once. For those cases where you say, well, maybe I don't need it all, you just take a couple scoops out for 5 or 10 acres or whatever it is, measure that up, seal that up, keep that up in an airtight condition as much as you can. Even in the fridge helps it better. And then you've got it to last for a few more months. or till the next week when you need to use it. When we ship this, you'll get a case. A case will contain 16 boxes, 16 40-acre boxes within it. And then a pallet will have 72 cases on it. So we want to sell lots of pallets, so time for you to get to work. When we look at N-Vita and N-Physis of what they have, we talked about this easier to handle, transport. One thing I did not include, and it's good you've got this prompt, is the 2-year shelf life. The liquid has a 1-year shelf life, and we've got it tested for that, and we'll guarantee it for that. With the 2-year shelf life with the dry, that extends that viability, helps with inventory management and those kind of things. So it gives you a lot of options to help your customer overcome any of those fears. And then with the dry being mixed into the solution, you have the ability to put that into the tank, agitate it, apply, and you're basically waking up a sleeping product, and you're ready to go off to the races. So this point of the freshest in the tank, when you activate that, wake that up, and apply that, you're applying a fresh product to go to plant and do what it's supposed to do. So then we have other conditions that we're looking at helping here with the plant. How does it go into the plant? And GD or N-Physis has some unique properties to it that really sets it apart from other products in the marketplace. One is how it gets into the plant, meaning it has multiple routes of entry. It can go into the plant through the root, or it can go into the plant through the leaf. And then once it's in the plant, it colonizes and migrates throughout that plant. Both the above ground and the below ground have the bacteria, which it then is able to fix that nitrogen. It converts the nitrogen in the air to a form the plant can use and makes it available. So same practice that alfalfa does, and now we have it for corn or wheat or sorghum or sunflower, and the list could go on and on and on. A couple key things with this is this bacteria lives inside the plant, inside the cell. So, and that's potentially every cell within the plant. The theory says it probably doesn't happen that extreme, but it spreads throughout the plant and is in a high percentage of those cells. There's few bacteria that are on the market today that actually live inside the cell. There are some, but N-Vita is one of them. So the closer it lives inside that cell, the more ability that it has to influence that plant, to help it grow, to provide the nitrogen, and to signal back and forth to optimize productivity. The other thing is, if you think about this, any bacteria that's existing in that cell where that energy is needed, the nitrogen or the nutrient is needed, it does not have to go through translocation from the soil to the root to up to where it's needed. It's right there in the cell where it's needed. So you're able to bypass some of those translocation costs and gain efficiencies. But it effectively performs the same function as biological nitrogen fixation that happens in alfalfa and soybean. It's just a different organism, and it's able to fix that nitrogen. So, and then as that plant grows, it moves throughout the plant. So here's, some people will challenge, how do you really know that nitrogen fixation happens? How do you know that bacteria is inside the plant? Well, this slide illustrates that bacteria with those specks in the tip of a corn root and in a section of a corn leaf. So we know that the bacteria can occur in both the roots and in the shoots or the leaves of that plant. And we've got microscopic images to illustrate the bacteria there. And some people say, oh, maybe the bacteria is there, but how do you know that it fixes nitrogen? And it's not necessarily in this presentation, but we have scientific indication that yes, nitrogen fixation occurs through labeled nitrogen tests in the growth chamber. So next we'll be talking about just product placement. Where do you use N-Vita? I just say use it everywhere. It's always encouraging when we hear growers come up and say that stuff works, and I say, well, where do you use it? Well, we use it everywhere. We just use it, and we're gonna. I heard from one of our reps that said he was talking to a grower in Indiana who says that stuff it just works. I use it on all my crops. I'm very happy with it, and we'll be hearing from him on our side on Thursday or Friday. But this grower, and I appreciate this slide about the acre matchmaker, because this guy in Indiana says it works great when when it's dry conditions, and it works great when I've got excess moisture. And if I remember right, he said it works better when it tends to be drier conditions, and I think that's appropriate where you've got a higher mark there on the drier drought conditions that has a higher influence on that crop under drought conditions than it does when it's too much moisture. And why is that? Well, under dry conditions, you are deficient in nitrogen because that nitrogen can't move with the moisture through the soil to the roots. And so N-Vita picks up that nitrogen difference and makes it available to the plant. Under high moisture, you generally lose your nitrogen due to volatilization or leaching. And there's still water there, but the drought stress is the bigger thing. Low CEC soils, I remember hearing a case when I was with YieldMaster Solutions, hearing a case out in Nebraska where a grower reported 30 bushel yield increase because he's on sandy soil, and so low organic matter, low CEC, and he didn't get in to side dress that part of his field, and he showed a big return there. So anytime you're limited on nitrogen, either in terms of loss, you knew you lost it, or you didn't have the ability to apply it up front or during the season, N-Vita is a solution to fill in that gap and continue to support productivity. So with that, I'll leave it unless you want to ask me other questions.
We do have a question section at the end, so we will move into the harvest data. So as we tested this product, we actually tested it 2 years ago for 2023 and used all of the wettable granular N-Physis product. And then in 2024, we used the foliar version to make sure that our numbers were matching as we were using the wettable granular versus the foliar. So in corn, we had 8 data points over 6 different locations in 3 states with a 78% positive response and 8.6 bushel increase. On soybeans, we had 5 different data points over 5 locations in 3 states, and we had an 80% positive response with 4.1 bushel advantage. So these are very accurate numbers, or very similar numbers to what we've seen on the foliar or in-furrow N-Vita. And so it just comes back to what's easier for your operation, as for a wettable granular, or if foliar or in-furrow option with the N-Vita is better. So with that being said, I am going to hand it over to Amber, our marketing manager for YieldMaster Solutions and Legend, to go through some of the resources that we have available for you guys.
Thanks, Chris. Just a point of clarification a little bit. So as Chris mentioned, in 2023, we did trial the wettable granular formulation of N-Physis. That is still applied as a foliar or in-furrow. And then we have the liquid formulation that is applied foliar or in-furrow. So we kind of compared the data between the 2 different formulations of our liquid formulation and our wettable granular formulation. But again, you know, at YieldMaster Solutions, we have really dedicated to making sure that you have resources at your fingertips to kind of let you know the key benefits the product offers, how to apply and store the product, as well as how to place the product. And some of these resources include, there's great information on each of our products in our portfolio and our product guide. We do have individual sell sheets for N-Physis, and that kind of talks about the impact it has on the plant, as well as our application recommendations. And then our best practice guide is really that storage and handling go-to sheet that a lot of people have even printed out and put at their sprayer, or just kind of a quick reference guide. All of these resources can be accessed through either your respective account manager, or you can find them on our Innovation Learning Center. Our Innovation Learning Center, or ILC for short, is an online training platform that you can log on to. It's free for everyone to use. You just create an account, and it's really simple. You just put in your email, and you create a password, put in your name, and then click create account, and then you'll have access to our online Innovation Learning Center 24/7, so you can have access to these resources at your fingertips any time of the day. And within there's training modules, so there's different courses you can take if you want to learn about more of our products, as well as there is a literature library where you can download some of those resources I just talked about. Additionally, where you can access the Innovation Learning Center, if you don't want to go directly to the site, you can go to the YieldMaster Solutions website, and then under Innovation tab, there is a quick link to the Innovation Learning Center that'll take you there. So best place to get to it is through the YieldMaster Solutions website, go under the Innovation tab, and click ILC, or Innovation Learning Center. So just a great resource. If you have any questions about accessing the Innovation Learning Center, don't be afraid to reach out to your account manager, and they can certainly provide further guidance, or even reaching out to the office, and our marketing department would be happy to help as well.
I want to add a couple of things what people are thinking, if they want to add a couple questions, comments. But the flexibility of application with N-Vita compared to the competition is really unprecedented in terms of, you can put it on in furrow, you can put it on tanks mixed with a herbicide, or frankly any pesticide, and the opportunity to put it on early or even later if you miss the early window. Some people will ask, well, when's the best time to put on N-Vita? And I say, when you get a chance, almost. If you have the chance to do it in furrow, that's a good time. Not everybody has an in furrow application equipment. And I would say today, probably 85 to 95% of the applications go on as a foliar application. So put on early vegetative, because then you've got the entire season for it to be on the crop. We do have a couple of crops where we see benefit in 2 applications versus a single application. So early vegetative, and then maybe an early reproductive. And some of you may have had experience with soybeans and say, well, all right, when's the best time with soybeans? Early vegetative, that 2 to 4 leaf stage, you get it on there with your herbicide. What happens with the soybeans? Those nodules later in the season tend to slough off, and then soybean plant may be a little bit deficient on nitrogen. A later R2 application, when you get that early reproductive stage, an application of N-Vita may kick in and provide that deficit filling of that deficit of the nitrogen to help that plant fill in the beans that are there, or maybe help with the nitrogen deficiency that it has to add more pods or maintain the pods that it's got. So on sugar beets and potatoes, we've seen an early and a late application pay for itself, be economically viable to pay for 2 applications versus a single on the total yield recorded. I've seen data on corn, and some of you have as well, as a tassel application. So you know that a fungicide application at tasseling goes out, and I've seen data suggesting that a tassel application on corn helps. You say, well, really, we're not helping the ear size or the kernel count at that time. Kernel count may be an abortion, but really at that period of time, what you're helping is the size of the individual kernel. So to maybe tip back, and then it's just a larger kernel. And if you've snapped ears of N-Physis treated versus without, you could see that sometimes.
Again, we thank you for joining us this morning. And our next Legend Tech Talk will be on Monday, March 10th. So we hope you will all join us again for our next Tech Talk on Monday, March 10th.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. We appreciate your time this morning.